Welcome back to Yvonne Winifred Yuji, my beautiful fashionistas. Hope you are fine. So today's video is all about a corset, and to start off, I'm marking a straight line on top here at my pattern paper. It is best to use pattern papers first so that you don't waste your fabric when it comes to corset. So from that starting point, I'm going down by 7.5 inches. Since this is kind of a tube top, I'm going to mark 7.5. You can even mark 7 inches depending on how modest you want your top to be. So I'm going to straighten a line like this, and that is now my chest line. So on top here, the starting point, guys, I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches in this case. I mark it on top and even under here at the chest line, and then I'm going to connect a straight line that will aid me when I'm carving out the armhole curve. So from there, just simply carve out the armhole. So at the midpoint of this line, I move in a little bit by about half an inch. So that is what I have. And from the starting point of the shoulder line, I'm going to go down by 10 inches first to mark the bust line, and then at the 13-inch mark for the under bust line, and then also full length at 17 inches. It will end at 16, but I added 1 inch for the joining allowance for this dress that we are making today. So I mark the same close to the center front so that I form a correct straight line, or correct straight line simply as you see me doing. So those are my lines. I'm going to use those lines to shape out the corset, as you'll be seeing as we go on. So this is the chest line, bust line, under bust line, and the waist line. So now guys, for the bust span or the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 7 inches. Dividing it by 2, I get 3.5 inches. So on each of these lines from the chest line going down, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches. Since this is the pattern paper, but directly on fabric, you have to add half an inch for the joining allowance. So this is what I do, simply like that. And on top here I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neckline width and 3 inches for the neckline depth to shape my neckline so that I go on. So from the shoulder line still I go down by 1 inch and connect to the neckline width, simply like that for the shoulder slant, like that. So I want to get the midpoint of this line, so it is about 2.25 inches, and I'm going to mark connecting all these points kind of to form a shoulder dart, shoulder princess dart, like that. So from this dart I'm going to start shaping out my corset or the tube top. So on either sides of this dart I'm going to mark 1 inch on either sides of this dart, only at the waistline and the under bust line, and then connect the points simply as you see me doing. Then from the under bust I'm going to connect straight to the bust line, but it is best to connect with the curve rule, not a straight line just as I did, but mine was changed later as you'll be seeing. So guys, from the shoulder line on top I'm going to go down and mark where I want my tube top or the corset to start from. So at the center front here I want it to be at 8 inches. You can go down or up depending on how you want your top to be. Then here close to the middle I want it to be at 6 inches. You can even do 6.5, but I wanted it to be more of the modest side, so that's what I did. So here you're seeing me marking half an inch inside and mark a straight line. I first used that, but later guys I changed it, so don't mark that. Just mark straight from this shoulder dart to the center front at the 8-inch mark, and then connect into the sides to form your shape. Make sure your shape is really nice for, to cover your breast at the upper part here, at the upper bust. So that's what I did first, but as I've told you, I later changed it. So on top here, along this dart line, I'm going to mark 3/4 of an inch on either side, simply like that, and connect back into the bust line. As I told you before, please use a curved rule, don't use straight lines just as I did, though I changed it as you'll be seeing later. So this is what we have for now. So this is what I'm telling you guys. From this dart line, I connected to the center front directly where the 8-inch mark is for the sweetheart neckline, like that. And guys, these lines that connect from the dart line to the under bust, they have to be of the same length, so measure them. If they are not, please increase what is short, especially that line, this one, please increase it maybe by 1/4 inch or more. So I connected from there to the 8-inch mark for the sweater neckline, simply like that, and then shaded the unwanted part like that, so that we are not confused. So I also went in and used the curved side of my ruler to shape out correctly my dart lines. So guys, now at this point I'm just going to mark 1/4 of the bust measurement down, like that. Bust measurement divided by 4 plus this dart intake that we have here, which is about 3/4 of an inch, and mark it down, and then add the seam allowance that I'll be using according to the way that I'll be sewing my corset dress. So I do the same even at the under bust. The under bust measurement divided by 4 plus the 2 inches that we took in as the dart intake, and the sewing allowance at the side. Even at the waistline I do the same. Waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches that we took in for the dart, and the sewing allowance. If you want, you can even add the ease allowance. So that is it. Now I come in with my blue marker and shape out my corset shape, simply like that. By the way, even at this point, this can be termed as the tube top. That is a well finished tube top. If you want it as only a tube top, you just end there. But since we are making this corset dress, and guys, it is a basic corset, don't complicate things. So at the chest line here, I'm going to move in by 1/2 inch, and even at the bust line, I'm moving by 1/2 inch. I'm going to connect those 2 points and connect them even to the under bust to form the first corset cap, simply as you see me doing. Moving by 1/2 inch at the chest line, moving also by 1/2 inch at the bust line, and then connect to the under bust. So at the side from where our measurement first ended, I moved in by 1.5 inches from the side before the allowances, guys. Just moving by 1.5 inches, then connect to the under bust, simply as you see me doing, like this, to form the second cap. So now the corset is really well formed, and this is a basic corset. Don't start with complicated things. You can start with this, especially if you're a beginner, and it will be very well. So I label all my parts. The center front will be on fold just as I've labeled, and after that I just cut out, simply as you see me doing. so the shaded part is unwanted. And then all the other pieces, we need them. So these are my front corset pieces. So that's all that we have. Let's move on to the back. So for the back, still I have my bodice part. The bodice is already labeled. I have a zipper allowance. I'll be using zipper allowance for this dress. Chest line, bust line, under bust line, the waistline, just as we had at the front. So guys, I'm going to move in from the zipper allowance, from where the zipper allowance starts. I'm moving by 3.5 inches plus half an inch. That is when you're cutting direct to the fabric, but in this case I'm only considering 3.5 inches. Then connect a line simply as we did for the front, like that. So at the waistline, I'm going to move out on either sides by half an inch, and at the chest line on top here, I'm going to move out by 1/4 inch. Then connect those points just to shape out the back dart, simply like that. So I want to move in by my blue marker so that we see what we need very well. So that's what we have so far. And guys, I have to shape in this zipper allowance to avoid the zipper bulge. I move in by half an inch at the zipper allowance and then connect on top here at the chest line. From the waistline only, we move in by half an inch at the waistline. From the center back, we move in by half an inch, simply as you've seen me doing, and then connect the points like that. So guys, if you want, you can leave your back, the top part of the back, like that, or you can shape it out. So before that, you have to divide your bust measurement divided by 4 plus the dart intake that we took in there plus the sewing allowance. So you do the same even at the waistline, or even here at the under bust, but no need even for the under bust. I did that, but it is not all that needed for the back. You just consider the bust measurement and the waist measurement. There is no bust at the back. So anyways, those are the points. I'm just going to connect simply like that. So that is what we have. So on top here, I'm going to just move down by half an inch at the zipper allowance here, and then connect with a curve to shape out the upper part of the back, simply like that. You can even move down by 2 inches according to you guys, according to how you want it. So don't forget to label your pieces for ease, guys, and show in the direction they will be moving. So that is it so far for the top pieces, and now I just want to cut the skirt pieces for this corset dress. So I have my front and back pieces short, as you see, and remember guys, the top piece, it will end at the waistline at the 16-inch mark. So I'm just going to go down. First I have to label my joining allowance of this skirt to the top piece, which is half an inch. That is it, it stops there. So from there I'm going down by 8 inches, sorry guys, 8 inches for the hip line, and I added just 5 inches for this skirt piece. so it ends just 5 inches below the hip line, and then I add the joining allowance of the circle pieces to these cut pieces. So the zipper allowance I'm working with in this case is 1.5 inches. So I'm marking the half of the nipple to nipple measurement in this case. Because I'm marking directly onto the fabric, I'm marking 4 inches, not 3.5 as before. So I just want my dart to be kind of a princess dart. I don't want all that like too complicated darts. I just marked that, but I'll just be sewing it in. So I divide the waistline, or the waist measurement. You can't divide the waistline, sorry. Waist measurement divided by 4, plus the dart intake of 1 inch and the joining allowance. I do that even for the hip measurement, and whatever guys measurement that I have at the hip line, I'm reducing it by 2 inches and I mark it down at the hemline of this skirt piece. It is really tapered in. That's why I reduced the hip measurement that I have by 2 inches. The hip measurement that I have at the hip line. So after, just connect the points simply as you see me doing, and that is all about this skirt. So cut out the shape simply like that. And guys, remember at the top piece we moved in at the waistline by 1/2 inch to avoid the zipper bulge. I do the same even for this skirt piece and connect from that 1/2 inch down to the hip line like that. So we'll be cutting that off. And guys, before, I need to shape out that's the front piece of this skirt by 1/2 inch at the center front going into the side. So the sides remain the same, but the center we reduce it by 1/2 inch, and then also cut out this excess zipper bulge, and then also cut out the dart. It's kind of a princess dart, as I've said before, just to beautify this dress like that. So guys, these are all my pieces, 2 side pieces and 1 center front piece for the front, then 2 side pieces for the back, and 2 center back pieces. Please remember to label everything. And guys, so far this is what I have, and this video is all about the cutting of this corset dress. In the next episode, we will be seeing how to sew everything. So remember to watch that part also. And thank you so much for watching. Yvonne Winifred UG. Hope I'll be seeing you in the next video of how to sew this corset dress.